We have Nekroz for you today, Cyber Dragons, and the Legend of a Hero. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. You know, this is kind of impressive to actually see like a full spread out, you know, Nekroz deck actually doing something. Because like, I feel like, you know, obviously we don't have Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome down here to be, you know, points to actually kind of help out actually having, you know, a generic Omni Negate that actually pulls back a water monster. But it is interesting to see the ideas we're doing. I also see we're doing the Full Armored Exceed package shenanigans in here. Being able to, you know, pull in the Full Armored and the Armored Exceed stuff. It's actually really, really cool. I also see that we are playing the Hidden Gem of the Seafront in here as well. We don't talk enough about how this guy just gives you an additional extension for the deck, which is actually kind of something that is kind of important to it. You know, also the Nekroz mirror stuff, reducing those numbers to keep consistency, actually looking pretty good. Also shout out to the Solemn Report down here. Not bad. Next up is Cyber Dragons. Now, the Cyber Dragon deck, we've been seeing, you know, like, you're kind of playing less Cyber Dragons at this point, you know. You're still going to play, like, the one in terms of the name, but I mean, like, this deck, we have access to Core, which turns into a Cyber Dragon, which effectively handles the point here. We are playing Triple Future Fusion Nova, which, by the way, I mean, beaming out the Eternity Dragon or the Decisive Dragon, you got ways to kind of go about this. You just kind of got to figure out, you know, what's going to be the optimal way to do it. And also, I do think the Cyber Dark stuff is more of a nice anchor to kind of keep the deck in line with where you want to go. Also, you know, shout out to, you know, actually playing Power Bond in here. If we've not realized by this point, like, Power Bond is an incredibly broken card. Also, sad that, you know, we're not going to be able to do limiter removal shenanigans in here because, you know, numbers. Next up here, we have a hero. And obviously, Miracle Ejector is such a fun card to work with. I really wish we had access to this in the TCG, which, I mean, we should sooner than later, honestly. But, I mean, like, this card actually just speeds up the process to the cool things you can do, which does open up, you know, we have Aqua Dolphin, Dark Panther, and Grand Mole. And, of course, there he is, the Broken Nebula Neos. You know, the fact that this card just allows you to do the things that it does is actually really, really cool. Also, we have access to Cosmo Neos, which is just an entirely other broken monster as it is. I also do like the fact that this list is playing the Flame Wingman and the Shining Flare Wingman, both of which are just entirely generic targets that the hero deck actually has access to. So that's actually really cool. You know, we don't get a chance to really talk about these two because a lot of hero players just don't like these cards. Next up here, we have Dark Magician. We have been exploring all of the cool different builds that this deck wants to be able to do. Now, I think the first thing I see down here, it's really funny, is Gandora's in the side deck. This is not necessarily a deck that really cares about the second body being on the field, much like, you know, a variant like Orcust that wants to have that second body to be able to kind of combo up and make those bigger play lines. So you can actually put this in the back seat. Of course, you know, we are playing Black Chaos Max. This card is basically your auto-win conditioning, especially since you're going to Foolish Barrel it down to go get it back. We are playing the Dark Magic Talisman as a one-of in the deck. I think this is fine as well. Rod is also a very, very critically important piece to this deck. So, you know, the fact that actually when I am playing the Baron to pop this, that's kind of crazy to me that I guess this deck just decided to kind of take a step back from the usual rounds. All right. Next up is Pendulums. Right now, this deck, it was doing decently well for a little while in the OCG. And I think things kind of changed, and now I do see we do have Independent Nightingale down here, which means we are going to be able to do some OTK, FTK shenanigans with this, which already kind of makes this an incredibly stupid card as it is. Because, you know, this deck just 2 Dark Pendulum monsters. Guess what? Dark. You know, the fact that you have access to 6 Astrograph Sorcerers now to make this deck way more consistent is crazy. And also, you know, Dark Magical Curtain just gives you immediate access to a Dark Spellcaster monster. So, you know, congratulations. The first requirement for Electromite is met because you just beam this out. Now just go find your second body. And now, you know, we can kind of do things. That's why this is a broken card. Next up here, we get to see some Shadals. So this list actually was really, really cool because I've been wanting to see like a modern Shadal list. Now, good news, TCG players, you know, we did get Phimena just reprinted. So this now means that, you know, we will be able to use this to fuse during the opponent's turn. And one of the funniest things you can actually do is just hard make window in response to your opponent doing a single fusion summon during their turn, because Phimena just is an enabler for you to do that. I do see we are playing the tier monsters in here. I don't hate the inclusion of tier in this list. I think tier is a cool little starter pack to kind of get your foot in the door and be able to do things. Also, only 2 Shadal fusion might seem really weird to you, but like, I think this is fine. Some of the time this card's actually bad, and you've got like infinite ways to actually search for this. So, you know, as long as you can do that, I think you're going to be just fine. So this was pretty interesting. Next up here, we have the Synchro Patron. You know, we've been tracking the Synchro deck for so long, and it's interesting to me, like, these lists will coin flip. They'll be like, I want to play Synchro Emergency. Other lists are like, I just don't want to play the Synchro Emergency. You know, it just bulks down. Now, interesting things I will say here. I mean, we have 2 Junk Synchrons in the deck. It's very interesting to see a list not actually maximizing on Junk Synchron, which is fine. I do see that we are playing Assault Zone in here. Being able to straight add the Psychic Kappa is really, really funny. I hadn't really actually considered, you know, this just being an extra little ability to bridge on in, to extra little odds and ends for the deck. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know, you never really think about like the inclusion of tech choices like this that are going to make the most optimized answers for what you're going to want. And then we have Fire King. Really? Somebody dusted off Fire King and actually took this to an event in Japan? Actually seeing triple Fire King Sanctuary in the main deck. But this is where the OCG gets to shine, you know. You get to actually slap in triple Miscellaneous Aerosaurus into your deck, and congratulations, you know, your deck is automatically better than a TCG version because, you know, you're going to have easier and crazier access to Megalo. Anytime, like, your deck can speed up the process to get to the monsters that it wants to see, it's really good. Obviously, maximizing kind of on the rest of this, which is fine. Extra deck, I mean, you're pretty much locked in on the TCG extra deck at this point. There's not really a lot you can kind of do. And of course, I do see we are side decking the Doggerons and the Perulias as well. Also, shout out to, you know, actually playing the Heat Wave. Yeah, having a free card that just basically tells your opponent to get good is actually pretty hilarious. Next up, we have, oh boy, it's the Shadow Beast. Power Patron, good stuff. The deck. We have Medius the Pure, we have the Archmage stuff, but we also do get access to Zagito and Vorium here. So basically, we're going to be playing Archmage with the ability to go through all the extra good stuff. I also see that we are playing the Starving Venom, the Heavenly Pillar in the deck. I mean, this is just a really good super poly target if need be. I mean, you're maximizing on 2 of those. You also do see we are playing the triple Karibo in here. This has been popping up quite a lot in these lists, and it is kind of useful. Just being able to kind of get the wall up and running for these. It does work very nice. Also do see we are playing the Millenniumizer Strict down here. 2 monsters with different types. You know, if you've got all these builds that are showing up playing like, you know, Spellcasters, Illusions, and, you know, whatnot, the Millenniumizer Strict actually does seem like a pretty decent super poly target to actually assist you. And our last list is more synchro good stuff. This build actually went up to the 60 card build, but they also said we're going to play Synchro Emergency in here. You know, the 40 card variant didn't want to do it, but certainly when we extend out the entire pool here to be able just to get easier access to things, it's great. Also, I do love the 1 Feather Storm in here, man. You may as well play it, right? Because we have access to the Cyber Slash Harpy Lady. So, you know, as long as you're going to have those optimized results for what you're wanting to do, that's great. But this, even in here, only 2 Junk Synchrons. Crazy to see this card's actually been cut back on. But that's how things work. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.